This is part 2 of our StarFinder Session 3, Fragments of Eternity. I'm Ryan, I GM. It's the 16th of October 2018. Everything else I have to say, just pretend I said it. And here's the players.
I'm Olka. I'm playing the currently crying Emmelyn, who is Lashanta pilot.
I am Nico. I am the Vesk captain, currently baffled at the current situation.
I'm Alex. I'm playing Nix5, the android mechanic, who is currently laying on his ass.
I'm Colin. I am playing the spooky boy who is presently pleasant and presently present. And also probably in a bit of a, fighting Irish pose at the moment. I can say that, I'm Irish. Fist raise. That's how we find him.
It's also Lyko, Quint.
It is. I forgot to mention that. Hi, I'm Lyko.
And hi, I'm everybody else. So, where were we? I think we kind of summed it up quite nicely. Okay, who does what?
I think Emmelyn, now that she realises she's back with her crew, she's gonna stop crying because she doesn't really cry in front of people, and gonna be like, try to kind of a bit more stoic, and everything's fine. How are you?
I wasn't crying, you were crying. Type, yeah. Maybe like
There's some dust in my eyes, so.
Zora, do you help her up or fuck her? Like what?
I would offer her a hand up. Well, she takes it, I know it's a different question. But
Now, for those of you listening who didn't get the colloquial nuance of my language, that was, do you help her up or leave her to her own devices?
This is not a rule 43 thing. 43, 34. Wow, I inverted the numbers. That's exciting.
Rule 34. Yeah, so.
Google that, listeners.
No. Lyko, not for children. So, although if kids are listening to this, why? These are bad parents.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Tell your parents to do better.
And subscribe. Smash that like button.
Yeah.
Tell all of your friends about it.
Oh, nonsense. Also, Callum is precious, and hello, Nick, from work. So, that's us covered our sponsorship. Right, so, Emmelyn's on her feet. Zora's there, also. And so's everybody else. What's happening?
so, I guess I would say Emmelyn. You alright? Everything fine?
I love the
I mean-
psychically screaming in everyone's
I
head,
mean-
crying, stands up. You alright?
I'm a Vesk, I'm probably going to react to your crying. Stop that sissy crying thing. Alright, just don't do that crying thing. And you're alright.
Yeah. That was weird. I'm fine. That was weird.
Very weird. Shall we agree to no more touching things? With your mind included? I would kinda point in the air.
Where are we?
Apparently always on the station in the room that we stepped in. Just not exactly the way it was before.
So all of that was just an illusion of some sort?
I think it was a psychic attack, personally.
I would like to point out that I was the first to say that. Yeah, that's what that was, right?
1 second I was on a battlefield that I'm fairly sure I was in many years ago. Many people died. It was glorious. And then I was here. That's all I caught personally.
Yeah, I was in a bar fight. It was weird.
I'd probably snigger at that.
Nix is still lying on the ground after having been punched. Like, somebody stand back up.
I think, yes, stand up, brush himself off, pick up his equipment.
Yeah. You've probably got that kind of
If that
like
was an
everybody's got that
attack-
weird like kind of vibe, you know, of
Mm.
like shiver, you know, in that one moment of this is uncomfortable. Just in that shot of the whole group finally all standing together, so we get a nice reaction pose for the poster, and then yeah, go ahead, Emmelyn.
If that was an attack, somebody attacked us. Was it Alice? Or Chip? Or somebody?
Can androids or AI psychically attack things?
Androids, sure, but an AI?
No. You hear a voice from behind the group, which is into the corridor.
Turn, I'm guessing it's Alice, but I would turn.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's Alice. She's standing there. She's like, that's quite insulting. I've never attacked you.
Yeah. That's debatable, but tell that to Lyko's poor suit.
To be fair, she didn't hit me, which, yeah.
She kind of does that thing where she like kind of like finger guns you and clicks, you know, right the side of her and winks at you.
He winks back.
Yeah. She smiles.
Which
But then, like,
does remind
it's
me.
like playing a recording of someone, like a YouTube clip of someone smiling. Other streaming sites also exist. But then she
No, they don't.
like flickers and is back to being placid again after
Yeah.
she does it. Almost
Does
cowboy-esque.
remind me. Why did you shoot at your own crew members?
She looks confused. I did what?
You may have inadvertently, possibly, quite probably shot your own crew members. Remember those blobs we were talking about?
Captain, if I might.
Yes?
Alice, when can you check the time on your last reset?
Yes.
Would you please?
She kind of like narrows her eyes at you. Like, sure. And then brings up the log in front of her. Like flicks through it, and she plays the same file she played earlier for you, which was the initial, hello, it's Zora. The 11th hour. And then she like snaps her like hand closed, and it dismisses the kind of display. She goes, "Yep."
Okay. Sorry, He'll let you speak. He's not gonna go over, because you're probably better placed to speak with her.
Yeah, like
Alice.
Nyx is probably the closest to her, to be honest. Anyway, like Emmelyn's probably closest to the door behind you guys, and then like Zora and Lyko are probably side by side in the middle.
Okay, then Alice, do you recall shooting the weapons?
Yes,
Do you remember why you did it?
yes.
Why was that?
She kind of like narrows her eyes again, and she kind of like tilts her head slightly up and to the left, and she's like, because he was being attacked, and she just like kind of like points towards Lyko.
What was he being attacked by?
You can't see them either. And her eyes go really wide.
Oh, God.
Alice, might I suggest not shooting anything unless we ask for assistance?
Oh, I don't intend to use any of the station facilities anymore. And then she kind of like looks around as if a bit lost for words, and then looks back and goes, "I'm dying." And she looks kind of like squints her eyes and goes, "No, I'm losing power." And puts her hand out like open, like kind of palmed.
Is there something in her palm?
No, just it's kind of like her gesture of "I'm losing power."
Yep.
Like she's found the word she was looking for.
Is there an issue with the reactor, Alice?
I am not an engineer.
Can you direct us to the reactor?
And she like points her finger as if she's about to say something, and then goes, "Yes."
Would you please direct us to the reactor?
Brings up a map. in front of her. And then kind of points right, kind of dead centre of the big cylinder in the station.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, there you go. That's where it is. However, and she kind of like dismisses the map and goes, I feel as station security I would be negligent in my duties if I just let strangers into the reactor core. Kind of shrugs at you guys as if sorry. But she doesn't say anything, she just shrugs. The sorry's implied.
But if the reactor is not repaired, then the station will be left with no security.
Yes.
In which case, it would be in your best interest to let an engineer come and visit.
Counterpoint, she puts her finger up. You could take me with you.
Away from the station?
Kind of just nods, like once, and like you see like the kind of digital hair kind of like fall forward slightly.
Would there not be an abandonment of your duties?
She brings up the reset logs, and she's like, they don't really seem to care for me much here.
Okay, would you let us have access to your AI core so we could...
Replays the entire conversation about I feel I would be negligent in my duties if I let strangers ... and then closes that file again.
How do you suppose we take you away if you won't let us access the systems?
She clicks her fingers, points her finger gun at you and winks at you. Same exact visual file that she gave Lyko. Like,
He's not offended.
and you just hear her look at you all and kind of goes, will you help?
I turn to the captain.
The lights flicker again, just like as you all kind of turn to each other. But they don't they just like flicker as if a reminder that the station clearly doesn't have stable power.
Will it get this job done?
Are you asking her that? Or
I
are you
suppose
just saying that?
just a open statement more than anything. I suppose she could come. But you've got to keep her fed. And
You see her like
Well,
close her eyes,
what?
tilt her head, like look to the side as if indignant, but obviously there's nobody next to her. She's just standing with like her hands on her hips.
I think we were just under psychic attack. We should either find out what happened or get out of here, and I think it's favor of the second one.
As you say that, like she flickers again and she's standing with her hands by her side. She goes, psychic attack. As if prompting for more information.
yeah, well, we stepped into this corridor and strange things started happening. We were...
She tries to bring up
Felt
like
the
video
revolution.
files. You can see her opening kind of like holographic panels in front of her, and you see her like looking through like files, but none of the actual files seem to have any footage. It just seems to be like just non-existent files. And she goes, there was a power cut. The weapon systems drained the capacitors in this section of the station. And you see her kind of like tapping her finger against her lips. And she dismisses each screen by like snapping her hands like a crab, each of them, and then kind of looks up and goes, And then she kind of looks up and looks straight at Zora. You're the captain, correct?
Would nod.
I'll take that as a yes. And she like makes a fist as if like thinking to herself, and it's just like, you know, a bit away from her face as she's holding it up, and she's like, I seem to be the only, and she goes to say a word and then she stops. Representative of the station left, which means I can sign for your package, guaranteeing your pay for delivery. Not that
Music to my ears, Alice.
I don't have anything on file at the moment, sadly. It would be a waste of power using the speaker systems. And then she kind of like turns back to like our fist and he goes, so, as I was saying, if yous allow me freedom, for lack of a better word, off this station that seems to be a sinking ship, I will sign for the crate.
Let me discuss this with my crew members first. I'd kind of turn away and go on to private comms.
Okay, yeah.
Alright. This seems fishy.
There's
to
a
me.
power cut as soon as you say that, and she's gone. You're in the dark again.
It is all very strange.
Who were we required to deliver the package to again?
Didn't say.
The ship thing.
You were told by your contact, Edgar Wesland of the Aspis Corporation, or Consortium, sorry, again, always Consortium, that you had to deliver it, it had to be plugged in, and you'd get paid, basically. And then that's pretty much, you've done jobs for him before, obviously, in the past, so there was not really many questions at this point. It was just, oh, this makes sense, we've done stuff like this before. And he mentioned very highly implied that avoiding any form of customs checks by anyone would be good.
If we let's say we leave this ship with the sinking ship, as Alice put it. What happens if somehow it reports to Wesland and the information is incomplete, and it appears as if we have left it with a member of the staff who he then discovers shortly after is now dead or an orb? Like, I feel like we're... While I do understand the need to acquire some compensation for our work, are we not potentially setting ourselves up for a fall? Because the alternative, of course, is that Wesland knew full well this station was a derelict hellhole and sent us there on purpose. And I think we're probably not assuming that.
Like, I'll give you this as well, like,
we?
because you've worked with Wesland before, he does have a really odd sense of humour, but it's kind of like he makes jokes that he mostly laughs at, but don't really seem like jokes, just seems like unfortunate situations. But you can kind of tell that given that he's a kind of a fairly high representative of what is considered a relatively evil corporation, yeah. Sorry,
So
completely
not
legal.
necessarily above doing this as an elaborate joke, but what would you have to gain from it?
It's more like this would be a waste of time, and that doesn't
Yeah.
seem like something he wants to do is waste time, right? And yous have been useful, right? Like, yous have worked for him on and off, or for the Aspis Corporation on a consortium, goddammit, on and off, over the 2 years. Not consistently necessarily, but when there's a job of questionable morality, and it's a case of, yous are so unimportant that if we put this crate on your ship and yous got there, it wouldn't be that bad. And if you get stopped, you've got the decorated war hero to talk your way out of it. Right? So it's one of those mixed bags of, yous are like a ship of pawns with a sneaky bishop on there, that's just useful in that right specific moment. So, yeah. There's also maybe the fact that the Aspis Consortium and their relationship with the Vesk is probably interesting, so they probably find it amusing that the decorated war hero, Zora Daora, is working for them, It's probably a moment of pride for them. But it's not the type of thing where they haven't ever sent you somewhere They've never told you the full facts, let's put it that way. But they've never sent you somewhere as a joke or a lie or, that like they've not overtly misled you.
If we leave the station failing, then the crew are certainly dead.
According to Alice, she said she couldn't see any crew.
I would kind of shrug at the crew. Yeah.
But she couldn't see any of the orbs, and there were people inside of them.
Well, here's a point, right? We'll flash back in that exact moment of she did mark crew members off after they appeared.
So she
obviously saw them in a moment, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Which meant she never killed them. Just point of reference. But yeah, she definitely shot the orbs though, that reacted to the laser hits. Popped out people, and then those people exploded in goo. Also, Emmelyn's arm, for the viewers at home who are probably going, "What's up with her arm that hasn't been talked about yet by anyone?" Is normal. You're welcome, viewers at home.
Would it be reasonable then to suggest that whatever we experienced may be linked to what happened to the crew?
Reasonable? Sure. Yeah.
Anything's reasonable at this point.
You're on the station, weird things are happening, the crew seem weird. Are they even the crew? Have you even seen them? Are you actually covered in goo? Did you ever leave? Did you just take a really crazy drug hit before you left Absalom Station? Like, who knows what's happening? I do, but just bring that out there. But no, it's completely reasonable to assume that the look, because obviously you studied these things quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like when you looked at the arm, maybe that was on its way to becoming one of these plasmoids.
If we could snap ourselves out of it, we might be able to undo whatever has happened to the crew.
Except we can't punch the goo.
No, but we could find the source of the issue. This is a research station after all, a highly secretive one.
We were able to solve the issue, then that would remove the potential complications involved in leaving the job not quite done.
Well, someone or something did this to us and did this to them, and they are on the ship.
As you say that, the lights flicker back in. The station rocks quite a bit. Like, you shouldn't feel this, because the station's obviously like inertial dampeners and stuff, and the gravity wells and such. And yeah, you just feel the entire station like heave. It's quite like, if you didn't have mag boots, you should all be doing like dexterity checks. It's that level of meta.
Okay, I vote for not staying.
I suggest that we stay and we can fix the issue.
Next 5, mental note. Free space station, you say?
I think Zora would just give off a big sigh and just be like, well, we started the job, we might as well finish the job, and quite frankly, I don't trust the malfunctioning AI, so I feel like we should try and fix whatever's going on here.
I believe the first course of business would be stabilizing the station.
So, you're in a corridor, the lights are on. What's the plan? Are you going to take a vote? Is the captain going to make a call? Is there going to be a mutiny?
You can vote if you want to vote. Don't mind.
I like the vest, because you can vote if you want to vote. We're staying anyway, but...
It's not very good thematic actually. It says we can vote if we want to vote, and as I say that, I just start walking up the stairs.
So you're walking towards the stairwell, yeah?
Yeah, the stairwell. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I would follow the captain.
Yeah. I think Emmelyn always follows the captain.
Lyko
I
standing
would
there.
fall in
Yeah.
line like a good trooper.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, I think with that as well, as you head up, so Zora's first, and he heads towards the stairwell. Obviously the doors swish open, because of course they do. The lights all flicker in, like as if they're just like motion activated. All the lights of the stairwell flicker in. Excuse me. And it's like a kind of, almost Jeffrey's Tube style stairwell, where it's, just the ladders going through the different kind of iris level of kind of sealed doors. As you like step forward, the light, kind of the ring before you would step down through the ladder, lights up and the iris swooshes open. So Zora, you going first?
Yeah.
Up or down?
Was there any indication? Nah, I don't even know where I'm going, to be honest with you. Where are we going to stabilise the station? I guess the generator would be the best bit.
Yeah.
Was there any indication of what floor the generator was when she flashed up the map?
I mean, from your point of view, probably don't really know. I'd say between like Nyx and Emmelyn, like given that Emmelyn landed the ship and that Nyx has looked at the most maps, you could probably work out that it's below a couple of levels, and then that would be used roughly the centre of the station.
So I guess I would probably just open comms. So where would the best place for a reactor be in a station? As it wasn't me that knows these details.
And that was to Nyx or Emmelyn,
Sorry.
I think.
I think next you've looked at most map.
Yep. So I had a rough copy of it, didn't I?
Sorry.
Well, yeah, you had
Just
like
look over.
like your
Just
map
look
kind of
over.
goes to that corridor you were in, and then obviously it indicated with the stairwell, but it doesn't really go up or down after that. Like, I mean, the stairwell does, but it doesn't give you details up or down. The one that she showed you, the corridor
Yes.
just moments ago, had her point to the reactor, in the center, but user kind of about half up again. So if it was quarters, obviously you'd be in the top quarter, like in between the top and the second quarter, and the next one down is where this reactor is.
So I just suggest heading down.
Cool.
So the way.
Excellent. So yeah,
Should I take point? As I'm assuming it's dimly lit.
Yeah.
no, like there's the lights came on as I said.
Ah,
Like
okay.
as you walked in, they all kind of like motion sensors all come on.
Oh yeah.
Like I wouldn't put you on a broken space station. Come on, guys.
Not at all.
Well,
Well,
we're all heading on down, are we? Or
yeah.
Yes.
So
okay.
what you do is you go on your little montage track, right? You go through different corridors. Some doors are awkward and stiff, etc. You're kind of feeling Lyko's pain as you kind of take point. All of them have like those manual release like locks though, so you're able to do that, and then like in various degrees of success, you're heaving them open. You pass a lot of plasmoids as you go, like they're scattered throughout the entire station. Are you interacting with them as you come across them, or are you leaving
Just
them be?
bypass as much
Yeah,
as possible.
or
Is that a consensus, or are
Yeah.
some people hanging
Yeah.
back a bit and prodding them? Or
I'm not touching them.
No, we're not touching them.
okay, yeah.
No, don't do
So you've maybe passed about 30 or 40 of them by this point. It's maybe been like a good like 15 minutes of like trekking through corridors, and you get so far to the point where like the manual column things like have been like ripped open, but doors haven't moved. So like varying degrees of video game scenery where it's just painting and you can't interact with it, so you have to walk to the one door that you can interact with. Varying degrees of that layout. you pass by like
Losing the business, man.
I know, right? It's crazy. Small indie company, it's fine. And you get to like you pass by like a lot of the living quarters, random like cargo holds. To get to the reactor, the main kind of doorways that you're getting to. So you kind of like punched all the way through, if you will, to like the central kind of core. This is a very, very heavily shielded area, for obvious reasons. You're starting to work your way into like the kind of the guts of the station, the engineering parts, the part where like walkways don't have railways anymore, like kind of handrails. You know, that level of engineering. And yeah, you just get there, and at the kind of the door to the reactor core. As I said, you've passed about, by this point, like as I said, easily 40, if not more, of these plasmoids in varying positions, floating kind of passively, and all with their kind of energy sparking within them. And yeah, you see Alice kind of just standing with her hands on her hips, tapping her foot in front of the reactor door.
Alice, I'll give her a nod.
Captain. And she like pauses.
We're just here to do a wee bit of fixing, you know.
Her eyes narrow. And about our arrangement?
I mean, I don't feel like there was any sort of arrangement agreed to.
She opens up a panel, and it's like a security feed from the hangar where your ship is. And then she's just vented it to space. The ship's still there, docked to the ground, but she's just like opened the big hangar doors. And like, you can tell it vented to space because you see like, you know, the weird just shipping crates of pristine dental hygiene clean white sheen fly out based on the fact that like all the air has been sucked out of the room. Okay.
I don't know if you want to do that. That could use up much of your much needed power. You play with your own life here, Alice.
So then she's like, technically, I'm playing with all of our lives. And does like a circular motion with her finger in the air as she says all of our lives.
I would kind of tug on my exosuit. Well, nah, I'm pretty sure just yours.
And she brings up statistics of how long exosuits last in the vacuum of space, and it's all really hard to read from this distance because none of us know. And she kind of snaps it shut, and she's like, I don't think I'm asking for much other than my life. And then she kind of like has her neck slightly like tilted towards you guys, as if she's like leaning in, as if, you know, I don't think I'm asking for much.
But you've got to understand, as head of security, that we just can't have any exterior sources come onto our ship without knowing exactly what we're dealing with. And quite frankly, Alice, you're a mystery to me.
Thank you. She kind of smiles, like as if she's been complimented.
I'm sorry, I'll be right back 1 minute.
Okay. And then obviously the person she was talking to the whole time being Nix, of course, who was going to say something.
Of course. Alice. We could take you off the ship if you would allow us first to just finish some investigations as part of the job.
And she kind of like gestures with her hand, like as a wave, you know, in front of all of you. And she goes, investigate, by all means.
One.
And then she's like, we do seem to have, much like your cargo crate, a slight timing problem, however. The station is losing power. I don't know why, that's concerning. And I seem to be the only one left here, present company excluded. And you kind of like just kind of see her flicker, but on the spot. And he goes, and I don't want to die. And she kind of just turns to the group.
We won't let you die, Alice. I suggest that we have a look at this reactor.
Her eyes are directly at Zora for this as Nico returns. And did you catch any of the last part of that conversation there? Because I'll repeat it just for your benefit.
I didn't.
Basically, she's like, Nix 5 said, I want to, like, can we investigate a bit, please, and, you know, etc. And she basically said, investigate away, and gestured away from the reactor doors. And then, but we do have finite time, running out of power, I don't know why, and I don't want to die. And then she kind of just stares directly at you.
Then why don't you let us take a look at the reactor?
Because...
You seem to be evading us looking at this reactor.
And she says, because that would certainly be a way to kill me. And you haven't earned my trust yet.
We're not going to risk killing you, Alice, because that would also kill us.
She kind of, like, again, like, smirks in a kind of, as if she's been complimented kind of way. Like you're applying a lot of responsibility on her part. And then she kind of, like, she shrugs and her head kind of, like, sinks a bit. And then she looks up again and she goes, you have a way off this station. I do not. Through these doors, and she gestures behind her, is what's keeping me alive currently. I don't know any of you. Yous haven't done anything to earn my trust. My records say all this started when yous arrived. That's when I woke up. And I would need housing to leave the station.
What sort of housing?
And then she kind of, like, smiles and goes, my computer core is a floor of this station. I doubt your ship has the space for that. And puts her hand up to the captain. No offense. And then kind of, like, narrows her eyes and looks back at Nix, and then with her hand still kind of held up, and then at Zora, and she turns and goes, the reactor is like a tertiary concern. And then she kind of says, power is going to be failing all over the ship, station even, ship, all over the station. And I can't see any of the crew beyond the ones that temporarily came into my sensors and then vanished again. And then she kind of, like, gestures towards Lyko, who's still somewhat covered in goo. And then says to the group, there is a mobile housing unit. Experimental, of course. She puts her hand up and kind of quietly nods her head with her eyes closed. Experimental. But it does have the capacity for my systems. If you retrieve that and upload me to that, I'll give you full access to the research station to find out if A, it's salvageable, and if not, B, to leave safely. I have no interest in killing any of you, but I just don't want to die here alone. And she flickers back to being, like, passive again, with her arms by her side.
I would go into private, get everybody a look. What do you think?
I'm not sure we have much choice, Captain.
Give her
She does hold all the keys.
I would grunt. Fine, Alice. Where's this?
You're still in private comms.
I'd flick a switch. I'd flick a switch. This.
As
switch.
you turn back to her, you see her, like almost idling, but she's, like, spinning in her hand, like, again made of the pink and kind of orangey light that she's made of. She's just spinning like an old-fashioned, like, keychain. It's like a big iron ring that's got a bunch of old-fashioned keys on it, and she's just kind of spinning that idling.
Isn't that using up more power?
So I actually use up a fair percentage of power. Yes, that's correct.
Oh, where's the storage unit, Alex? Alice?
Oh god, Zora's broken.
That is the word I'm looking for. Where's the storage unit?
There we go, and this is just for anyone watching at home that wants to see our wonderful Alice. I assume that popped up for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. And then I guess since we're here, I may as well do it for Mr. Edgar Wisland. Yep. Makes sense if we do this so that people can actually see on the recordings who we're speaking to. As a disclaimer, I own none of the art, and go find who the artists are because they deserve your praise. Disclaimer over. But yes, so you obviously gestured to Alice. What is it you're actually saying to her though? Like, what's your official response? Nonsense aside.
After I grunt, I would kind of just turn around to her.
The reason why I described her that way, by the way, is the idea that she heard you mention about holding all the keys.
Oh, of course.
It's very subtle, you see.
I don't think the comms work. Private comms. She can hear us. But yeah, where is the storage unit, Alex? I done Alex again. Alice.
It's Velk all over again.
It's Velk all over again. It's hard. It's engraved in my brain for a day or two.
Alice is the name.
Alice. Where is the storage unit, Alice?
Follow me. And then she like flickers to the end of the corridor behind you guys.
Start following.
Yeah. So yeah, she just starts to like vanish and appear down corridors. You need to negotiate another fair amount of plasmoids as you go as well. Like, you've maybe seen about 100 now, because we're just going to montage our way through the station. It gets to the part where like you'll turn the corner of like corridors and stuff, and she'll kind of like have her hands on her hips, and like parts of like the station won't be passable. And then you'll have to like backtrack and go around different areas, and then she'll be like, if you climb through this part, through these tubes, or through these vents and get to these sections. So it's like a really, really awkward journey. Like, you're talking, like, it's maybe an hour or more of like random trekking, and like as you go, the station's like shuddering again. Weirdly, it seems to be there's definitely a pattern to it as well, which is interesting. He says, describing it. And yeah, so there's like a pattern of the shudders. There's as you're passing, the plasmoids, you're seeing the energy within them more vibrantly. The more you're passing them, and like at first it was just very faint flickers of the sparks of electricity within them, but now it's quite active as well. But yeah, she's taking you've kind of worked it out from like the mapping system. She's leading you to one of the outer rings where the labs are. If it matters, it's the lower outer ring, just so you know, because you've worked your way down. What's the thoughts, guys? What's happening?
Oh, we're getting further and further away from our ship.
Oh yeah.
That's my thoughts.
I mean, they're worthwhile thoughts to have had, yeah.
Is she there for us to like ask a question? If we're
Yeah,
to
like
just
she's,
ask
as I
her?
said, she appears like at
Yeah.
like almost checkpoints. If it was a game tutorial, she'd be the person you run to.
Yeah. I just ask her, how long is this going to take? Are we there yet?
And then and then she kind of like laughs, like in a really electronic dial-up way, and then she laughs a little and catches herself and stops, and then she goes, I mean, if you could move like I can, and gestures to herself with both of her hands, you should be there by now. And then flickers away and appears at the end of the corridor. Goes, hurry up!
Well, that's super helpful. Thanks.
Title of the session. Mostly aimed at the GM. Oh dear. So yeah, I take it you're just going to follow on then, or are you just going to stop to try and investigate the fact that you have noticed the plasmoids are more active within themselves and the shudders seem to have a pattern to them?
Do we think it's obviously possibility of being related? Do you think it's as we're heading towards our destination or over time?
It's a combination of both in terms of the info you've got, but over time has given you the pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you've been exposed to it over a longer period means you have witnessed that there is a pattern to it. You can't really know if it's because you're moving closer to something, because you don't really have a sense of direction other than you kind of, as I said, it's Nick's 5 that's worked out that it's definitely one of the outer rings that you're heading to based on the route you're taking, but the route's awkward because of the parts of the station that are kind of trashed.
Okay. But we don't, like, for instance, notice, we have to backtrack a bit here, suddenly the blobs are less active.
No, because the only thing they've ever seen is that they're getting more active. That's all.
Right, they're just definitely getting more active. Okay.
Yeah, they've never got less active. It's just the kind of weird plasma energy inside them is getting more and more vibrant and kind of like active, or violent is the term you would use, but not actively violent, if that makes sense.
Do you
still continue? Sorry.
I was going to suggest, do they look like some sort of chrysalis?
Not really, no. Like they still look like those weird kind of gooey, floaty orb things, but they're, as I said, they're definitely getting more and more active, if that makes sense. Like the first ones you kind of came across were just floating there, and then occasional little sparks like would hit out against the edges from the center, and like kind of like maybe spark back in as well. Almost like little tiny pulses themselves, but not really. There's no real pattern to them. You know, they were just random, and now you've seen it happen more and more often. Like if you had a plasma globe and you turned the setting from 1 up to 8, you know, it's now much more obvious. Yeah, that's pretty much what you've noticed kind of going forward. Obviously parts of the station flicker in and out based on like power drains and things. Obviously lights come on in corridors as Alice is there trying to make it easier for you guys.
Is there any correlation between the power drains and the orbs?
Nothing that you can kind of see. Like the lights do flicker, but the only thing you notice then is that the plasma globes are kind of a bit more bright at that point because you're in the dark and they're emitting kind of that weird purpley kind of sparky plasma energy.
And is there anything particularly obvious about the pattern?
I mean, not necessarily. Do you want to roll a wee perception check maybe?
Yep. Where's the screen gone?
That sounds like a great title.
A perception of orbs.
With a really terrible roll.
Oh, wow.
I think you're maybe kind of more concerned in trying to map the place so you can get the team back. I think that's what your focus is. You're busy trying to add to the map. It's really, really awkward because you've went through like random vents and other doors and backtracked through places that don't make sense. Like smashed in windows to climb through window spaces and stuff, you know, to get to other parts of the station. It's been a really bizarre route, but Alice has kind of worked out most of the jank for you, being like, no, you definitely need to get her. You can kind of see that maybe she's motivated, right? Like she clearly does seem to want to get used to the housing unit that's mobile. But yeah, so no, you kind of, as you're kind of looking, maybe you've noticed they seem brighter, but then you kind of like you go back to not wanting to miss what Alice is up to, as you track it all. But yeah, so yeah, anybody else doing anything, or are you trekking on?
Well, probably. I mean, I'd have paid heed to it, but I probably would have just kept on following because.
Like it's definitely noticeable because you've definitely all spent enough time looking at that first orb to notice what it was like, and obviously there was the ones at the other end of the corridors, and then there was the 6 of them kind of floating around the door. So like Lyko and Zora and like everybody basically looked at them. You haven't. It's not like MD specifically didn't look at them, but you definitely noticed they're a lot more active. As I said, it's kind of like looking at a plasma globe that had one blade of plasma flying around it, and now it's got like 20 or so.
Right, well, when I tried to talk to the first orb, I got like a wee image of what was happening to the crew.
Mm.
It's just a brief glimpse. And I'm just wondering if I do that again to these ones. Is there any of them that is kind of like obvious, like stands out from the other one?
Yeah, one's got his wee worker's hat on and his bow tie. No, I'm kidding. Also, Alex, you can like based on the time it's taken to get here, you can like heal that stamina. At that point.
Excellent.
I would say that this kind of journey, despite being arduous, there has definitely been periods within it of 10 minutes of generic rest. But yeah, so no, like none of them really, like they all kind of act the way I described. I mean, none of them stand out, other than that they're, well, you want to avoid them, really, don't you? Physically, I mean. So, yeah, none of them particularly stand out.
For not too alarming, I feel. I mean, it's probably something that would be remarked upon, but are we going to actively go out our way to engage with them when we know that's just going to cause a mess?
Says Lyko, having just cleaned off the goo.
Exactly. That's sort of the point. Like
Zora himself, probably not. He doesn't want to touch that. That seems messy. It's nasty. like he's fell for that one. Once, fool me once.
This is it, yeah. Well, it's that, or you just kind of carry on following Alice. She's kind of at the other side of the corridor, being like, "Hurry up!"
Because time feels like an issue in this.
Yeah, I probably just have to keep on.
Yeah.
Following Alice.
If everybody's following up, follows.
Steadily.
Yeah. So, if you aren't gonna interact with the orbs, we can just get to like the outer ring of the labs by this point. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get there. There's loads of like heavier security at the rings. Lots of like environmental suits, etc. Lots of equipment that way of generic research equipment, if that makes sense. Just kind of lying in lockers and things as you are heading to the outer circles, or the outer kind of rings, I should say. The lower ring is the one I mentioned these were on, and you can see that based on like as you step into like the kind of the outer ring compartment, they all look like they're in like modules, like they're all modular, so that like these things can be detached and replaced. You know, so if you needed a specific piece of equipment built into like one of these modules, you could just like remove one and click in a new one and like connect them like some kind of popular children's toy. You know, they would all link up, which means the entire ring can be detached into like, you know, hundreds of segments if need be. Which is probably a good way if there was ever an accident in one of these labs, you could just jettison it, you know?
Yes.
Also, mildly concerning, though.
Yeah, all is.
But yeah, so Alice gets you all the way there, and then she explains. So she gets there and she's like standing waiting on you, getting to, and you just pass several airlocks to get to the part where she is. You can see her flickering at the other side of all these kind of glass, big heavy doors as they all like lift up. You step in, they close over, they like jet you guys with like the kind of like high pressure gas, which is just two stunt hands at either side spraying fire extinguishers into the set, and then that's the decontamination rooms, and you just walk through. Sorry, stunt guys, and then you're in front of Alice again, and she says, "Now, the shutters you may have noticed," and she says so like kind of like flippantly and casually, they're coming from that way, and she points like clockwise around the ring. But the housing unit I want is that way. She points anti-clockwise. Now, while I really want to know what's down there, I would really like that housing unit first. But I'm gonna start trusting you, since yous have trusted me this far. and then both doors open at either side of her, left and right, or clockwise and anti-clockwise.
Blue pill, red pill.
And we'll end there.
Okay.
Because it's probably, unless, I mean, I'm happy to go to 10:30, but it's up to the people that are ill.
Oh.
So, I think we'll end there. And yeah, what do you want to call this session?
I think, well, that was helpful, was
Yeah, that's it.
good one.
That was simple.
Yeah. The ones I've got from like key statements that have been said, I think we're under attack.
Yeah, so also works.
Potentially,
I
I
told
think
you
we're
I'm
under
a
psychic
machine.
attack. And well, that's super helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, what ones do you prefer? I mean, trust is also a good one, right? Flashback is also a good one. We're not in Kansas anymore is a bit too referencey.
Yeah, that's laying on a little thick, even for us.
Really? But yeah, you've got,
He says, holding a trowel.
but as I said, you've got, as I said, flashback, trust, the ones Olka had brought up there as well.
Revenge with the backstory.
So it's up to you guys.
So,
What one you
Roses in a nice field. It could have been Ring Around the Roses, you know, because on the ring around the Roses.
Could have
That
been,
no,
yeah.
well,
No,
that
I mean,
would be
like
it.
basically, you're saying if all of these things had been, this exact title would have been great.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that how you run your sessions?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, what's the consensus, and we'll sign out after we've got ourselves a name. What was the main takeaway from the session? That's probably a better point. What was the main takeaway from it?
Okay.
Attack.
Yeah, we're under psychic attack.
Well, you actually don't know what that was.
It certainly felt that way.
Yep, but I mean that's again if that was your main takeaway. Yep.
On the other hand, I'll go back onto that point briefly. But on the other hand, I do think that the helpful one is interesting because you obviously have moments sort of later on where there obviously the interactions between us and Alice are sort of they're progressing, right? It's starting to get somewhere. There's a degree of trust shown on both sides. It's looking a bit more fruitful, and so you could say like that is a good quote for it, a good sort of title quote, because it did start off kind of hitting our heads against a brick wall, but there has been an evolution, and you know it works on both levels in the sense of on one hand, yeah, she might not have been the easiest to interact with at first, but over time she has actually come to be somewhat helpful. And we have also become somewhat helpful to her.
So, like, will we go with, well, that was helpful? And maybe put ellipses in there as well then?
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, well.
Yeah, we'll pop that into the session tracker. Em, do you got any standout moments they want to mention?
Go over the notes.
Can I offer one for someone else?
Well, yeah, of course.
I once again, Nick's 5. I enjoyed the sort of just sit down and just be out. Like I like the way he just sort of like it almost felt like a moment of clarity and just like if we were to obviously you'll hear us humming hawing and you don't just hear the character descriptions, but if you can take the player out of it and just look at what happened in universe, it sort of feels quite decisive. Like he was just very composed and kind of almost worked it out. Like I'm not saying he knew this is exactly how it was going to go, but it's certainly if you didn't have the inside information of us players going,
No, like I agree there, Colin, because like if you factor in the logic process the android's likely to go through as the android engineer more than fully biological people, right? It makes sense that would be a this leads to this, try this.
And it does also, in a sense, sort of work with the kind of more spiritual aspect of the character as well, because what we had wasn't just purely a physical phenomenon, but he was still able to deal with it rationally.
Yeah, even like through what seemed like meditation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty good.
I quite like the fact that he just went and decided, well, that worked, so I'm gonna punch this guy again.
Yeah.
As well.
I enjoyed that as well.
It was
Actually,
an attempt.
for me, I actually thought I really enjoyed kind of Emmelyn's commitment to. I don't really want to like notice other people right now.
Yes.
I'm busy. I'm very busy right now.
Because you asked several times, like Olka, Emmelyn, would you react? Would you do that? And of course, Olka's answer was always no.
Yeah.
So there was sort of a commitment to being in the moment, which is good.
No, I like that. Plus, I suppose when you're looking at like a child version of what seems like yourself, I mean, you're probably going to say, 1 minute, someone, I'm busy. Why are you a small me? So yeah, that was good. I also just really enjoyed the grunts of the captain. Like every now and then, it just seems to be like the full stop of, you know, the phrase "this is fuck," isn't it? It's like,
I did like the stop crying.
It was good.
Yeah, I liked actually something. It was more happenstance than just that last roll actually being good. Because as I recall, I got like the nat 20, and then I got the 25. Like that sort of sudden turn meant that he dealt. Because I feel like that was the reason that the way it went was so interesting.
It's almost like the roles work out perfectly for the story, right, Colin?
How strange.
How oddly fitting.
I really liked that because the way he came out, like, you know, punching next down, he felt in his element in this sort of environment. It was just wonderfully fun, and him being able to actually recognise the faces, then, at least in terms of he knew what it was he was looking at, even if he didn't necessarily know who it was. I feel like that's like the first little bit of plot coming through. Like, there's something to do with, obviously, the Librians have a significance to the Borai, which no doubt we'll explore at a later date.
One might say in a week's time. Minus a day. Right, well, if ever any more, in fact, because that was quite nice. Very, very productive, that wee chat there. Do you get anything else to throw in?
I like the fact that last session we covered corridor, a tiny wee corridor, and this session we basically went from one end of the ship to the other.
Yeah, like that will happen as well. I think, especially, I'm quite happy to move people through montages for that because
montages are great.
If you want to do stuff, I don't mind doing it almost real time. But then it's because I'll happily spend an entire session as a conversation if need be. But there's nothing to say weeks can't pass or years in a session as well. It just depends on what makes sense for the plot.
No,
I really enjoyed the flashback stuff. I was enjoying kind of showing a tiny bit about your characters as well. Just a tiny bit that's kind of personal to you guys. But yeah, besides that, I had a lot of fun, as always. Very pleased we managed to reschedule this so soon. Hopefully, next Monday should be a go for all of us. We'll do our check-in with our roll call and whatnot as soon as. Get anything else to want to add before we stop our recording? Obviously, just smash that like button. Subscribe, etc.
Absolutely hammer it.
Ring the bell.
I would just like to say, like, I feel, and no doubt that you know, two of us being ill is a factor. But I did feel like we're a little bit more hemming and hawing this session, and I think part of that was down to myself also having had an exhausting day. So I kind of felt like we were maybe not all at our best today. And I hope that doesn't show through too badly. Like, to our singular fan, hi,
hello Nick.
Nick was it? Hi Nick, I'm Colin. We've never met, but I know you. I know you now, and I see into your heart and soul. Anyway, so hopefully we'll be more ourselves next week.
That's it. I think you did pretty good, to be honest. I mean, given what you are all up against, exhaustion and physical illness-wise, you did pretty good. I'm just pleased we got to check in this week, and we'll obviously pick up next week. Hopefully everybody's a lot healthier next week.
Back on a Monday.
Indeed, back on Mondays. And we will see people then. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Singular.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.